Jinx it, we don't want to say anything wrong, but what we don't want to have happen is that awful moment, and I wish I could say it's never happened, where you're on set and you start pumping blood and you look at the actor and nothing's coming out of his neck, but there's a giant red pile going on the back of his body, you know? All I'm doing with purging the line is making sure that the blood is traveling down the line and that there's pressure in the thing. So I don't know if you can see here, you got it? Chair. So this is the bit where I'm going to cut the appliance. Oh. So I'm going to start to cut. This is where I had that situation where I had an extra freak out on set. This is always I think, a very nerve-wracking piece, because you don't exactly know for sure that you are in the right place, and also, you know, you are using a pair of live scissors on next to an actor, and the whole crew are watching sometimes, and you're a little bit nervous. I just get you to turn a little bit towards my mic. There you go. These are a very, very fine pointed scissor. They snip through foam really, really well. And also they've got a lot of control over the blade. There we go. It's a little bit lower than I wanted to be, but that's actually not a bad thing. Regarding the pale colour of the foam on the inside, some people like to paint that red. I don't. Your flesh is naturally white inside. I'll bring you back to this position. And I kind of like the white because it's going to go red very, very quickly. And I like that. I really do. I like this. Now, Mike, if you drop your head down, just relax. See, it's almost like I can finger the wound back in. It's almost like it's undetectable. 3, 2, 1.
Creating this hit took an air pressurizer, a gnarly prosthetic, and a special blood formula. Making actors project, gush, and burst out blood on camera isn't just about gore. These bloody scenes require careful research and artistic flair. To find out how they do it, we went to Brett Schmidt and Greg Pikulski, the special effects makeup artists at SPFX Studio. They've created graphic injuries for mob dramas like The Irishman, medical shows like New Amsterdam, and action movies like Sicario: Day of the Soldado. It all starts with the actual prosthetics. The hardest part of creating wounds is building the look of depth.
Prosthetic makeup is an additive process, so you can only add, you can't take away.
But when you look at a wound, you're supposed to be looking into the body. The prosthetic needs to be thick enough to create that effect.
But it also has to work into the rest of the person's body. And that's why a lot of times for effects that have, lacerations or even bullet holes, you'll actually have a prosthetic that is an entire torso.
Just to create the effect of this small bullet wound in Sicario: Day of the Soldado, Brett and Greg had to sculpt a prosthetic that covered most of the actor's shoulder. For this laceration prosthetic from New Amsterdam, they were able to build up a thickness that subtly ramps up toward the laceration. Because this scene required a lot of blood, the prosthetic also had to be thick enough to hide a medium-sized vinyl tube. For smaller wounds, Brett and Greg might use one of these tiny tubes. These can be hidden in actors' hair or even a pair of glasses like they did in this scene from Sicario: Day of the Soldado. To hide the larger tubes, however, they had to sculpt a special channel in the prosthetic.
You don't want to put a tube in, that creates a bulge or anything like that. That'll give away the effect.
On set, they hid the rest of the tube underneath and behind the actress. How the blood comes out of the tube depends on what you use to power it. In this scene, a piece of shrapnel has hit a patient's artery. To create the kind of spray that results from an artery rupture, the blood has to be released at a high pressure out of a centralized location, like you see in this test run with water. They get that effect using this little device.
This is a tiny little garden sprayer that's usually used for spraying various chemicals on your flowers or whatnot.
After they prime the line with some pre-existing blood, they let out the blood in a pulsing motion to emulate real arterial bleeding.
3, 2, 1.
The key was using a lot of blood. For the full effect, though, you'd need to see this in slow-mo.